serve as one of the health educators at the Blue Door Neighborhood Center. We are so excited and happy that you have joined us here tonight for another iteration of our hip hop wellness series with Dr. Abari Cartman. These have been so life-giving. We do one every month. And so we're so very excited to do one tonight here with you on a very important topic. Before we get into that, I want to tell you a little bit about the Blue Door Neighborhood Center. We are Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois' first ever neighborhood center. And what we do is we aim to positively impact community health. We do so in a variety of ways, but today I'll talk about one of the ways, which is through no cost, free health and wellness programming and classes open to anyone in the community. And although we are an insurance company, you don't have to have our insurance in order to participate. So we reach out to community, and we love to partner with community partners like Dr. Abari in the Association of Black Psychologists to do this very important work. We have 3 physical locations. Although we're currently operating in this virtual platform, we do have locations in the Pullman, Morgan Park, and most recently in the South Lawndale communities. We're very excited to open up hopefully this summer real soon as we all open up around the city and the world. One thing I'll tell you though, tonight, you're in for a treat. A little highlight. There's the music. We would love for you. We are on Facebook at the Blue Door Center IL, as well as on our website at bluedoorcenteril.com. If you haven't already, go ahead and check us out. We produce a monthly calendar of events, and we have a variety of events, much like this one, but also different ones. If you're into yoga, Zumba, low impact fitness, we have that, nutrition classes, family programming. We try to have something for everyone, a little bit of something for everyone. So in June, we will be doing this again. So go ahead and lock in that date, June 17th, same time, same place. We would love to see you again. Grab a friend because we're talking about spiritual health. Dr. Abari will have more on that. And also June is National Men's Health Month, so we will be celebrating that. We have a few outdoor events coming up, specifically the Juneteenth in June. So we would love to see you if the occasions should arise. All right, almost done here. I'm going to go ahead and give you the end as we start. We would love to hear your feedback. So go ahead and grab your phone or any device that's near to you. Take a picture and you'll come up with this link on the bottom. One of my teammates will also put it in the chat, but we love to hear your feedback. This is just a quick survey which will help inform the great work we do at Blue Door. And finally, before I get out of the way, this is just a little virtual housekeeping. So this meeting is being recorded. When we're not sharing your screen, you can change your view. So you can choose a view of a grid, or you can see the active speaker. It's completely up to you. There's a little icon in your upper right-hand corner. We will keep everyone muted for the purposes of hearing clarity, and Doctor will be playing some music, so we want to be able to hear everything clearly. But if you do have a comment or remark and the floor is open, please go ahead and feel free to unmute yourself. Finally, many of you have already found it. Feel free to chat your questions, your comments, talk back to us. The chat box is your friend. We've already been introduced to some of our friends who are in the room. But if you haven't yet, go ahead and find that chat box. Let us know where you're logging in from, your name, and what you're excited about. All right, Dr. Abari, I am done. I'm out of your way. The floor is yours. And thank you so much again for partnering with the Blue Door Neighborhood Center.
Thank you again for having me, for having us, and for partnering with the Association of Black Psychologists and allowing us to have this platform to have these conversations. Are you recording this? I asked about the recording because I'm so appreciative of y'all coming. It's like 80 degrees outside. I just had to drive down Lakeshore Drive to get to this spot I'm in, and that lake is calling me. I know it's calling y'all too. So just appreciate y'all committing to this conversation because, you know, folks, we needing this. So this is medicine for me. You know, I could talk all day about myself, but to bring the community together, to bring like minds, to bring some of the smartest folk I know in the country together to help us have facilitate these conversations is always an honor. So we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna keep it real informal tonight. Like I'm looking at some of the names that are on here. We got some really, really smart folk on this conversation. And I always say we're gonna hurry up and get through it so we can make sure we have time to talk for the community, and it never happens. So I'm gonna commit to that this time. And so much so that if people got comments throughout, don't wait for the end. If y'all want to say something in between, feel free. I want this to be much more like a conversation than a panel. With that in mind, all of our panelists, if you will, are here and in place, and I appreciate them committing their time to this. The topic today is suicide prevention and substance misuse prevention. You know, I mentioned the 80 degrees and the warm spring, the summertime, and as sad as it is that we can't really fully enjoy Chicago summers because the body count rise when the temperature rise. That last month we dealt with gun violence, but this year we're having to be faced with the loss of life due to suicide in ways that are in a crisis for us. That the addiction rates, the impact of COVID has really just exacerbated lots of these internalization of harm and violence in ways that is just adding to the layers of trouble that we in. So it's a somber conversation. You know, I wish we did not have to talk about it, but I am encouraged to know that, you know, we got some brilliant minds and hearts in the place to help figure out some of this stuff. So with that, how we do this is very informal. I'm gonna play some music. I want us to engage in the lyrics and in the images and think and feel and just be present, and just share how we feel and try to, you know, put our collective minds and hearts together to figure out how we can dig ourselves out of these dark times. With that in mind, I'm gonna start sharing my video and frame this conversation with a song by a young artist. Hold on, my son has something very urgent he wants to say. Okay, I'll get it later, babe. I'm in the thing. Can y'all see my screen?
Yes, but nothing's up yet.
Just undo this and do it again. Nothing's up yet.
Meaning it's just a black screen. I do see like a media player up there. Now I don't see it.
How about now?
Yes.
What do you say?
I see drugs and depression. Now okay. I see the title.
This video. So we combined the two topics tonight, and they're two distinct topics on their own, but we wanted to think about the integration of these two ideas: the rising rates of addiction, the access to the different types of new, you know, relatively new to this community type kind of drugs, like, you know, these young people doing stuff that used to be considered white people stuff. And in a time when there's overlapping sort of pandemics, like all these things are converging in a way that's causing a recipe for disaster that we just got to look at and figure out. And it was paired to in a way that this artist Lil Zay Osama put together that was just the poignant, perfect sort of mesh up of what we're talking about today. This idea is that there's a connection between drugs and depression. I'm just gonna play just a little bit of what he's saying about that relationship.
Been getting to me off the my brother was hot body, I ain't fit in that cost. That's why I'm sipping on this lean to get rid of my cost. Yeah, jokes and depression, jokes and depression, jokes and depression, honest, I lost too many brothers. You can look inside of my eyes and see I'm truly your brother. Never fight the hand that feeds you, it ain't too many y'all. Taking pictures every day to save my memories. Hollow tips up in my clip for all my enemies. I know that bitch after my money, she ain't enemy. I'm back and better, man, I swear they still envy me. Hey, bitch, I'm a classy nigga. I'm not a flashy nigga. I'm not a braggy nigga. Killers gon' ask me, nigga. I give them the go and they blast you, nigga. Yeah. You want a feature, I'm taxing, nigga. I had to get up and get it. I came from the mud and you wasn't grinding with us. Yeah. Cherish every moment you got with your family. Never leave my brothers, I treat them like family. Fuck niggas that cross me. My own niggas cross me. I move different off. Yeah. Bitches and bottles, me and my niggas be poppin'. Fuck all the money in the world. The Dre been getting to me often. My little brother was hot body. I ain't fit in that coffin. That's why I'm sipping on this lean to get rid of my problems. Yeah, jokes and depression. Jokes and depression. Jokes and depression. Jokes.
So that's the essence of it for me, that line. That's sipping on lean to get rid of my problems. And the layers of conversations we need to figure out what are those problems? What are some other ways that we can help our young people find ways to cope with those problems and eliminate those problems? Some of them are structural, some of them are community, some of them are cultural, but they go deep, right? And with the conversation we had last month was that a lot of the young men, particularly ones I work with, don't have ways to express. They're talking about it very openly in their music, and they're saying they're going through all this pain, and they know they're traumatized, but they fall short of finding healthy ways to manage it, to solve the problems, to get themselves out of the fix that they're in. And you know, I said in the description for this whole thing that we've seen a lot of high-profile young people overdosing. This is Juice WRLD. He had a South Suburbs, but he talked very openly in his music. He talked about the things he was going through, and people made a lot of money off of his music. It's hard to say whether or not the call for attention that he was expressing over and over again was getting to the right ears, or people were offering him support and he wasn't ready to receive it. It's hard to say what's happening, but it's very clear that our young people are going through a lot. And not even just the young people now, because the suicide rates that came out Cook County 2020 after the pandemic, during the pandemic, were 97 Black people died by suicide, and the age range was 8 years old to 84, 9 years old to 84 years old. So we're not even just talking about a young people problem. We're talking about the whole community. But this the way the drugs, the way the addiction is playing into all of it is something that we just really need to pay attention to, and listen to them. Like they're saying it. If you listen to them over and over again, they're saying we burdened, we in the dark, that we depressed, we anxious. This is an artist, Gucci Mane, who talked about detoxing from lean while he was in prison. It was one of the hardest things he ever had to do. And so this is just another layer of this conversation. So the young people are hearing music and references to popping pills and, you know, the Adderalls and the Xannies and the Percocets and leans, all this kind of stuff, that not even just smoking weed no more. They're just doing all kinds of stuff. And one of the reasons I asked psychiatrists to come is to speak to what some of the impact of those prescription drugs are biologically, neurologically. So we're going to get her input in there later. But the other layer of this is that not just that the music is encouraging a range of coping mechanisms through self-medication, but there's also a level of deception in it. I'm using him as an example because he talked about drying out from lean, the probably worst feelings in the world. Then less than a year later, he was out on the charts in the city with a song called Both, where he's saying, I just popped one of those what you call it, and it boosted my stamina. So despite his own personal experience with this, despite his own darkness and his own detox, he still knows that he's gonna make a lot of money saying these things in the music because it's catchy. To another rapper's point, Future saying, I ain't really an addict, I just rap about drugs because it's a catch. So now we're talking about a couple of different things. One, we got grown men that are you know, taking checks, and there's a certain level of cowardice, I would call it, to promote a thing, to make a thing look fun, to not just keeping it real, not just being honest, but like suggesting that this is a way to do a thing when it's not really the way you do that thing, and then having impressionable young people kind of just eating it up. So these are some of the layers I wanted to to talk about, before I play this video about solutions, I wanted to bring in our young representative, Brother Elijah, who I met in the mentoring program here at Corey with Lawrence Hall. And I really just wanted him to help us understand the culture of the youth, right? The young experience with the nuances of some of the new exposure, the way they process in like the loss of Juice WRLD, what it means to have these references. What are some of the access points, right? There's a news story coming on, I think Channel 9. I saw just a little clip about it. They're doing an expose trying to figure out what's the pipeline. Like how does, we talked last week about how the guns getting in, but we also got to figure out how these drugs getting in. Like these are real, like legit prescription drugs, and they're just flooding the city. Like it's really all over the place. So I just want to get some insight from Elijah on that. Like I just want to have somebody that's in the life, that's out here, just like eating it all up, to see how you processing it, to see what are some of the things that young people are using, and then after that to get to a place of trying to get from you some of the things that we can do to support, some of the things that adults can do to create programming or protection, just to give a different options for healing and for coping and ultimately, like, elevation beyond the state of being, the survival state. Like we need young folks' voice on that. So without further ado, Brother Elijah, he is also an artist and he do a bunch of other stuff too. So I figured he would be perfect for this this particular conversation. And all I see is your forehead, Elijah. Put your phone down a little bit and just introduce yourself and share with us a little bit of your perspective on this thing. And then he disappears. Elijah, where you at? Mic check. 1, 2. Mic check. There you go. Elijah. Hello? Steve Mitchell, can you unmute yourself? We might have to come back to him. I like he might be having low bandwidth issues. Elijah, you here? I'm gonna give you 3 more seconds. We're gonna move on and come back to you. Cool, we'll come back. So let me then, Steve Mitchell, is that you speaking?
Yeah.
Can we get a mute off for the technology? Don't y'all love this technology? So convenient and so many like little doohickeys. Okay, I think we lost Elijah. If you're here, whenever you get back, just come on in, Elijah. We'll bring you in when we need to. To that point, Law Huey here. I'm gonna introduce my panelists one at a time and just do this one conversation at a time. Law, where you at? You here?
Yes, I am. How y'all doing?
There we go. So Law Huey's a featured artist. He's also representing the youth, if you will. So maybe you could speak to some of the stuff, some of the questions that I was asking for Elijah also. But before I introduce you, I want to play some of your music. I'm just play one of the songs that caught my attention from an album that you're working on. I'd love for you to share more about the inspiration and some of the work and the ways you incorporate mental health into hip hop.
For sure.
With that in mind, I'm gonna play a song from Law Huey from an upcoming album. This is hot off the press. This ain't even out yet. This is behind the scenes, unreleased. Y'all getting the first take. Y'all are exclusive. Let me see if this works. So I'm gonna introduce him like this, with his art, with his music, and then I'm gonna ask him to share. This is the album cover. You see him with his youth. He a father, he an artist, he a radical thinker. Really happy to have him on the space. But he had wrote a song called Stress, My Best Friend, talking about mental health. The name of the album is called How Much for Therapy. I'd love for him to explain some of that, talk about his work and what it has to do with mental health. But I'm gonna start with a song of his called Stress, My Best Friend, as the introduction to Law Huey.
Yeah. It feel like stress be my best friend now. Stress be my best friend now. It feel like stress be my stress don't leave. Because stress don't leave. I try to shake it, but it keeps on following me. Damn, it keeps on following me. I don't like this company I keep. He the reason why I can't find time to sleep. People telling me, hey, don't let it get too deep. But that's funny, cause I'm drowning in it. The irony. I try to go to counseling, but that shit ain't free. Try to tell my homies, they say that shit ain't me. Me and my girl into it, we don't speak. And my mama no help, cause she angry like me. Stress knocking at my door, I gotta open up. He broke it down last time, and I ain't got enough to fix it no more. Cause I'm trying to save up. For what? To get me some help. But until then, stress be my best friend now. Stress be my best friend now. It feel like stress be my best friend now. Stress be my best friend now. It feel like stress be my best friend now. No, stress be my best friend now. It feel like stress be my best friend now. Yeah. Stress be my best friend now. Yesterday, all I ate was depression. I got you though, I'ma get back to you in a second. That's what I'm telling people when I don't wanna talk. Lay them bed all day cause I don't wanna walk. Or better yet go anywhere. Up at this blank ass ceiling, I stare. Trying to find my purpose, trying to fight these demons. Contemplating life, should I stay on, am I leaving? Going through all this bullshit, what's the reason? Trying to hit the plug for drugs, for pain easing. This shit ain't easy, in fact it's a mess. I got this heavy ass feeling resting on my chest. Hold up, wait, damn, I just got a text. From who? Fuck, the stress. I feel like stress be my best friend now. Stress be my best friend now. It feel like stress be my best friend now. Stress be my best friend now. It feel like stress be my best friend now. Now, stress be my best friend now. It feel like stress be my best friend. Look, stress be my best friend now. If I was your best friend, if I was your best friend.
Bars. So without further ado, Laura Huey, welcome to the community. Please share the inspiration behind your work. What you thinking? What motivates you? What you working on? How can we support you? Welcome, bro.
Yeah, so it's crazy, man, to even sit here and be smiling and being in the present right now to talk about this work. Because of where that song came from, such a dark place that song came from. So a little bit about the project, everything. So the project was stemmed from a moment of me trying to commit, like coming off a failed attempt of suicide back in 2018. 2018, I tried to commit suicide, didn't work. But right before I did that, I started writing that song, "Stress My Best Friend." And before I could get to the second verse, I felt like what I was saying was hitting me so hard that I was just like, yeah. And at the time, all the woes of the world like was hitting me, and I wasn't talking to my girl at the time, and then my mom was just like, you know, a lot of factors that played into that. So what happened was I tried to take my life, and it didn't work. So what I did was I continued writing that song, and I listened to that song like 50 billion times. I felt like, all right, cool. It was like my medicine for me almost. And then I tried to go and find like options as to how to release. Everybody's like therapy, therapy, therapy. And then you go looking for therapy, and if you ain't got medical insurance and things like that lined up, it's kind of like expensive. So I couldn't get in contact with nobody who would help me. I tried different avenues, and I was like, man. So I decided to turn to the music, and then return. What I did was I made a song for everything that I would talk to a therapist about.
Mm.
And it all stemmed from that song, Stress My Best Friend, because it seemed like no matter where I turned, stress was right there. And every decision that I had to make. And over that time from 2018 to now, I developed an anxiety disorder. So now I like have real bad like anxiety episodes a lot. Whenever like I'm faced with a lot, whenever my mental was too crowded, like my whole everything shut down. I get the pacing, my leg get to twitching, like all that, and I never had to deal with that in my life until I ended up going through what I went through. So yeah, each song now is about. I have a song about anxiety, a song about greed, song. I was like literally about all the things that plague my mind at times. When it comes down to my mental health. So that's what. And also um the title, How Much for Therapy. The reason that even came about is because like how much do you really got paid to like
Mm.
at what cost does it take to better yourself?
Yeah.
And that's crazy because like you can't just bettering yourself isn't free no more.
Right.
Like you gotta go through so many avenues just to even get access to help. So the project is going to raise awareness around what music can do for your mental health, and also just trying to raise awareness around mental health, especially in the urban community. And what I plan to do is fundraise a lot during this release, and give it to the plan is to go ahead, turn around, use those funds, and pay for therapy sessions for people who can't afford to go to
Mm.
therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also partner with as many therapists, psychologists, and things of that nature as possible, and start like a community through the music. Uh, so yeah, this is one of those first steps. That's why I'm so glad to even be here talking, and just being able to look back on the dark moment in my life and just be like, yo, this is going to help somebody eventually.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's so powerful, bro. I'm so happy you're doing that. So I'm so happy you're still here. And then using your time here to really speak truth to power and invite other people into your healing journey, man. That is such a,
Yeah,
I'm
man,
inspired so
it's
much by
not
that.
an easy thing to do, but what I learned is that vulnerability is a superpower.
Yeah,
Uh,
right, right.
and when you look at it like that, it's easier to do.
Hmm. So you in the right place. I mean, you don't even know everybody on here, but like you just introduce yourself to some powerful folk in the city that are in the field, that own centers that like been doing this for years. So hopefully, what I'm saying, y'all can reach out and connect with them, and we can all as a group figure out how to help you finish this product and
Yeah,
get it
so
where it needs to be.
it still needs some work. I'm still trying to figure out how to roll it out.
Hmm.
I don't want to just do it and just throw it out there like any old project. No, I needed to have like momentum. I need organizations behind it so that like we can really like, cause this is bigger than me.
Right,
Like so
right,
much bigger than me. And
right.
I just wanted to be able to go places that where I can't go, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? And be with people when I can't be with them or when the therapist can't be with them. So
Mm-hmm.
uh yeah.
I love it. You want to share another piece live from it while you're here?
Yeah. So this next um yeah, this next piece is called Down. A little bit before I hop into it because I gotta set it up again. But a little bit before I hop into it, it's it was a it was a song that I wrote while I was on the bus, and I hopped on the bus. I was feeling down. I was feeling like, man, the world was against me, and I looked at this other guy on the who was sitting across from me on the Madison bus. I'm out west, so I'm on the Madison, the 20 bus, and he was drunk, but he looked like he was like my age, and he was just like he had hopped off the phone, like, and I heard some of the conversation, and he was just stressing, and I'm like, damn, it seemed like he going through it worse than me, and
Mm,
I wrote what possibly could be going on in his head and my head
mm.
at the same time, and it's called
Man,
Damn.
I love
So
it.
yeah, here it goes. Yo, mic check 1 2 1 2. Can y'all hear the beat too? Yeah, okay. I've been down my whole life trying to get back up. I need my time alone, so I need y'all to back up. Nigga talk behind my back, I gotta light this back up. And I'ma do it by myself, I don't need no backup. Hold on, okay, so that's just a mic check. Everybody can hear that?
We got you. We got you. That's good.
All right, cool. So we're gonna run it back. I'm gonna get in character. All right. Look, I've been down my whole life trying to get back up. I need my time alone, so I need y'all to back up. Nigga talk behind my back, I gotta light his back up. And I'ma do it by myself, I don't need no backup. See, I've been down my whole life trying to get back up. I need my time alone, so I need y'all to back up. Nigga talk behind my back, I gotta light his back up. And I'ma do it by myself, I don't need no backup. I don't know what's going on with the audio, but I've been traumatized, seeing in my eyes, cause my skin black. From birth, I'm penalized. Me and my granddaddy seen the same amount of death, except he's 74, and me, I'm 25. He always clown me because I say I'm stressed and say I'm too young. I told him my time could be any time because niggas get guns before they touch a degree. It'd be cool to pack heat, and niggas waiting to cook you because niggas hungry for beef and the cheese. It be all about that money, right? But you black, you can never get your money right. So you get it wrong, fuck around and get it long. Now you a stick up kid, the same old song. I've been down my whole life trying to get back up. I need my time alone, so I need y'all to back up. Nigga talk behind my back, I gotta light his back up. And I'ma do it by myself, I don't need no backup. See, I've been down my whole life trying to get back up. I need my time alone, so I need y'all to back up. Nigga talk behind my back, I gotta light his back up. And I'ma do it by myself, and I don't need no backup. So back up, yeah. That's that song. Yeah. I see the hand claps. You muted right now, but I can't hear you.
I was clapping over here. It was real loud. I stood up and everything. That was dope, man. I appreciate it. Oh,
Yeah,
there
so
go
like I
the
said, man,
Zoom hand claps.
yeah, I see the Zoom clap. Thank y'all, man. That was like I said, that's like more of an interlude that's on that project, and it's like I said, it's the first time I was writing about anybody else besides myself.
Mhm.
And, like I said, that was I performed that, and I really get into character of the guy
Yeah.
because, like I said, he look like every time I think like, man, the world is like coming down on me. Somehow God finds a way to remind me, like, yo, it could be harder. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's not to
Yeah.
say that like necessarily I shouldn't be uh like down or anything like that,
Yeah.
but just understand like it's somebody even more in the pit than you are, and it kind of make you put things into perspective, and that's therapy too. Like putting
Mm.
like perspective is everything right now. So perspective definitely helped me get out my pit, and yeah. So and just to run down a little bit more about the project, I plan to release it. I was going to release it before COVID happened. I was supposed to release on 4/4/2020, but that didn't happen. So right now I don't have an official release date, but I'm like I said, I'm still working on it. I'm still trying to like get sponsors and people to kind of help me through it because honestly, thinking about everything that has to go into this project is giving me a little anxiety to the
Mm.
point where I have to like kind of hire somebody and find a way to make funds for somebody to kind of like help me through this project.
Mhm.
Because like I ain't got it like that still. You feel me? I'm still out here, trying to get it myself. But I want this project to be a success, and in order for that to happen, I need like people around me, like-minded people. So I definitely just hired me like a personal assistant to help me through this process, and just to kind of like take some of the burden off of me. How much? But it's a lot that still has to go into this project. And
Mhm.
yeah,
But
I
make
talk
sure you put your
about
info in there. How will people contact you? Your Instagram,
yeah,
your
so
email.
everything, literally everything is at the name that you see, the Law of Huey. So you can find me there on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Christian Mingle. I don't know, like
Put it
you
in the
know.
chat. Make it real easy. Put it in the chat for
All
people.
right, true. All right, cool. Let me go ahead and how do I access the chat? This is so new. Okay.
We'll figure it out. I'm gonna
All
bring
right,
in
I
Dr.
think I found it.
Third.
I think I found it.
Okay. I'm gonna
Yeah,
bring in Dr. Third to this conversation. I appreciate you so much, bro. Don't leave though. Stick around.
I'm not. I'm cool.
I don't know if Elijah ever came back or not, but we're gonna move on. I want to
No,
introduce
I'm
y'all to
here.
Dr.
I'm here.
Balin Durr. Oh, there you go. What's going on, Elijah? You had some remarks from earlier. We can hear
Yeah,
you
no,
now.
my phone died. My fault.
I got you.
But yeah, basically, like what I want to say about that is like how that song said depression and drugs. Those go like hand to hand, basically. Like for me, I know like in my personal experience, I just had like a lot of friends die in the last 2 years, and it always makes me think like in the songs, like all I'm hearing is about drugs, sex, and money, and it just made me think like, oh, they having a good time and they living their best life off the drugs. Why not like try it, you know? And I feel like that's a lot of kids' mindsets like right now, like thinking to themselves like, what happens if I do this? Will I feel better inside? Will I feel better about myself? Will I be more confident? But at the end of the day, it don't really change anything because still gotta live with yourself basically. You still live with problems, and it's
Mm-hmm.
hard for you to really cope
How
if
old are you
you
now?
don't have nobody to talk to.
How old are you now?
I'm about to be 17 next month.
How young is it starting from what you see? What's the youngest that you see some young people getting introduced to
14.
pills? 14.
Yeah.
Where are they getting from?
Where they getting it
Perspective,
from?
man. Yeah.
I would say, really, you could really get it from anywhere. I could really walk anywhere, to be honest, and get what I really need. Because everybody nowadays is selling. Like everybody wanna like be on a come up. But at the end of the day, that still don't like it. Still don't really do nothing for nobody. But I can like everybody now. Like you could just ask like a random person off the street, hey, you know where to get this such and such at, and you can get it. And most people, like even if they're adults or not, they still selling to children at the end of the day.
Right.
And it's messing kids up in the brain. It's not like because it's like psychological. It's in your brain, and it's like messing things up in your brain, like memory, like a bunch of other stuff. But it's super easy to get everything. Like how I told you, like when I was it was easy for me to get cocaine, a bunch of stuff. So I understand where everybody's talking about where it's like real easy to get stuff at. But at the end of the day, I don't really know.
What other things? What's the list? Like, what are people taking right now? I'm hearing pills, Percocets, some music, and what are the
Xanax? I know people that's taking PCP and K2.
What's K2?
K2 is it's like leaf basically. It's a certain type of leaf.
Okay.
And like I don't know, like and I think it's called DMT. DMT is a real like strong thing. It's like supposed to be like spiritual, like awaken you, but it's like psychedelics basically. But it's like to a whole nother like extent of psychedelics, you know.
And by the way, K2 is almost like embalming fluid, like yeah. So it's real heavy stuff.
And you can get all of this anywhere. You say if you want any of that stuff, you can go find it.
Yeah, you just find the right person because plugs know plugs. So if you just ask your plug like, "Hey, where can I get such and such?" He'll put you on. You know?
Okay. The other thing I wanted to get your insight in.
Barry.
Oh, Dr. Duck.
Hey, I just wanted to say something. Unless the designation has changed, the name has changed, K2 actually refers to a synthetic cannabinoid, which obviously is the active ingredient that gets you high in marijuana. So K2 or spice is what that used to refer to. Now I don't know if they've changed the designation to what somebody else just mentioned, but that's what it used to refer to.
Okay. So while you're here, we might as well bring you into this conversation. Dr. Balin Durr met her, I don't know, a couple of months ago at 100 Black Men something, and we're just immediately impressed with her humility and her breadth of information, and found that she had 2 podcasts, one about suicide that I read, that I saw. It kind of get a bunch of stuff, I'm sure. But I listened to two podcasts, one about suicide prevention and one about substance abuse. And I was like, I gotta see if she can be available for this. So I'm so happy that you were and are here to help share some of your insights, some of your work from the neurological, physiological perspective of this conversation. Um, I'll open the floor for you just to share whatever you would like for us.
Well, I love how life throws us these unexpected curves, and it takes us in a different way than we thought we were going. But I actually, something I wanted to say actually to Lala Huey directly. You still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So like many things in this life, there's more than one way to do it. So in terms of how people characterize therapy, in terms of sitting talking with me and Dr. Obari, what you talked about is another form of therapy, which is in the hospital they would call it art therapy. So whether you writing, whether you drawing, whether you use metals, or just whatever your form is, it's whether you were playing sports or whether you mowing the grass, whatever it is that you do that helps you process what you're thinking and what you're feeling is a form of therapy. So I think it's important for people to consider to understand that, because as you said, everybody, number one, they don't always have the money to go see a therapist, but more importantly, even for those who go see a therapist, what they're also lacking is the willingness and the openness to really get in there and wrestle with their pain and their struggles in order to do the work, in order to move through their pain. So going to see the therapist in and of itself doesn't do the work, right? Showing up in the gym, Michael Jordan or Steph Curry or the King, they got to do more than just put the foot on the floor in the gym, right? They got to put in the work. So the same is true. The same is true with therapy. Okay. Now, what I would ask you all is, of course, is he introduced me as a psychiatrist, which means I am a physician who specializes in psychiatry, adult, child, and adolescent psychiatry. I am board certified. I have more than 20 years of experience as a child, adolescent, adult psychiatrist. Just kind of off the top, would you have any guesses about anything else that I might have done with my life other than be a nerd?
No, man. I will probably take a guess that you are actually probably like an actual artist, like you paint or like that. But that's a
Now,
wild.
I'm curious. What made you say that?
You just you give off an artistic aura.
Yes, I do, don't I?
Yeah.
So besides, I was actually, I guess what you might call an athletic nerd, meaning, I was, in addition to being smart, I was also a jock, both in high school and in college. Went to state, went to nationals. And actually, when I got into college, I was having a period, was one of those bad relationship times. And I sat down and actually started and drew a self-portrait. And the portrait I drew was of obviously of myself, but it had like one little tear coming down the cheek. And it really helped me to process what I was thinking and feeling about what I was going through at the time. So interesting enough, though, it's not something I pursued. And until I actually, kind of unbeknownst to me, didn't know I had a writer and an author in me until I guess maybe about 2012, I started writing. And while it was in the process of writing, I said, the spirit, I said, because I love song. And I said, what are songs but just poetry, right? And I was like, I want to write poetry. So then next thing I know, here come the poetry. So when you said in terms of your song that you did about stress, and of course I just loved it, obviously being a psychiatrist, but also being an artist, because of what you're conveying. So if it's okay, Obari, I had something I wanted to share.
Of course. I'm gonna
Okay.
say no to you. What you talking about?
Okay, so I actually have your song made me think of this poem that I wrote called Old Friend. It
Mm,
says, night closed in, dark, cold, suffocating isolation imposing its will. Another night to be endured, just trying to get through it. But as I looked up, there was a surprise. Alone, sat on a log like an old friend, waiting to be invited in. Someone to be embraced, not ignored or feared. Warm, friendly, patient, it awaited our return. No, not a stranger at all, but someone you want to get to know, not someone to be avoided at all costs. Alone seemed to offer comfort. Unexpected this was. I suddenly found myself wanting to spend time with, getting to know this enigma who would be my friend. It would take time, as all friendships do, but alone comes to each of us with outstretched arms, seeking to envelop us in its rich closeness that we thought impossible, but it was the rich comfort we sought all along. Instead of seeking it in others, we now found it at home, and it was all that we so richly deserved, the pleasure of our own presence, the gift revealed to us before our very eyes. What a wonderful discovery that was set before us the whole time. Come in, dear friend. It's good to see you, even though it feels like the very first time.
mm, nice. That's beautiful.
So,
I like that.
what'd you think?
No, that is I can see how that definitely the piece reminded you of that, and that is wow. Okay, so you do have a lot of talents under your belt right now. You know, that was beautiful. I man, definitely wow. That was a piece. That was a piece. I like how the transition from the beginning. I thought it was going to go a totally different direction based
Mhm.
on the beginning, uh, how it gracefully landed at the end was
Now, here's and I'm sorry, I'm sorry for interrupting. Was there something else you wanted to add?
no, go ahead, go ahead.
And so the reason I shared it too, because what I wanted to use it as another way for us to have this conversation, which is there is what you're experiencing and the way that you talked about it so eloquently, and I think so in such a moving way. And there's also what I wanted to offer us as a different perspective of what it means to be with ourselves. And I wanted to use it again as a framework to have the whole conversation, because I think that's really what the issue is, whether we're talking about drugs or whether we're talking about a self-created depression and anxiety and some of the suicide and not knowing how to deal with stress. To let's look at this from a very different perspective, which is we are taught to pursue everything and everyone outside of myself that I don't even know myself. And it's intentional. And so it shouldn't be surprising that I hurt and that I suffer and that I struggle trying to get something from outside of me that was
Mm,
never going to be a substitute for what I already am, the wonderfulness and the fullness and the child of the universe made a stardust that I already am in my perfection. But because I don't spend time with me, then I don't know that. And therefore, I'm pursuing something in somebody else as a substitute for what I already am, but don't recognize. So when you spend time with you, spend a time alone with yourself, getting to know you, asking life big questions, and having being centered in a reference point that is within you instead of a reference point that is outside of you, then you are not subject to the winds of what is temporary, what is impermanent, what is up, what is down, what is left and sideways outside of you, try to tell you who you are, and they don't even know who you are. How am I going to tell you who you are when I don't know who you are? I'm going to tell you what your value is when I don't even know your value. When I got sight but lack vision. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I completely. Well, you don't know how much that just registered with me.
So we listen
Yeah.
to so that I go to somebody saying, I don't know me and I feel inadequate. Can you make me feel better? Let me go to this drug and use it to numb my pain and to help me feel better for a while. Let me go if I can just find the right relationship so that I can feel loved. So because I don't know how to love me, instead of being still and and asking the question, how do I love me without condition? Right? Instead of having my value and my identity wrapped up in a job or a profession or in some other people's opinions that don't matter, and not understanding that the real issue is me and my opinion about myself. It's me that's on me. It's me that don't understand all the wonderful that is within me, all the infinite potential of the universe is within me, and I have the ability to deal with whatever uncertainty or whatever presents itself or whomever presents itself if I would just look to the source within me instead of some false God source outside of me.
I love it. Such a very pure truth. My question is, how do you get there if you've been poisoned? So I hear you, and my mind is clear, my spirit, I'm clear, and I understand you. But for a lot of our young people that have been under attack and have been poisoned, their minds corrupted, they can't even necessarily like register what you're saying. How do I get back to that? How do I restore this very pure truth you lay out? And what are the mechanisms that addictions and other toxins, how do they get in the way of just even understanding that very simple idea? The complicated, sophisticated, but a very pure idea. How do you get back to that? How do we get back to that as people?
So number one, I must wake up and recognize many things. But one of the things that it's important to recognize, and I'm talking from a mental health standpoint, is I have a body, but I'm not my body. I have thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts. I have feelings, but I'm not my feelings. Just like I have cars and possessions and things, but they're not who I am. Why is that important? Because if I understand that I have a brain and that everything I experience except a few reflexes is coming through that brain, then that says I need to take care of my brain. I need to give my brain whatever it needs to be healthy, the same way I need to give the rest of my body whatever it needs to be healthy. That my brain is just like any other tissue or organ in my body. It can be ill just like my lungs can, or my liver, or my skin, or any other part of my body. Those are the kind of truths that we need to be still and be asking myself, what is truth? I need to recognize the truth. I need to recognize
What does the
that.
brain need? What does the brain need? What is the things? What are the conditions of a healthy brain?
Well, I mean, the conditions of a healthy brain are composed of both what the brain needs for structure and function, but it's also the thoughts that we think. So if we deal with structure and functions, it's many things. But some of the things that a healthy brain needs are things like chromium and magnesium and selenium and zinc and iron and sleep. And so it needs, in order to build a healthy structure of any kind, you basically need two things: quality raw materials and quality workmanship. So you have to give your brain what it needs. Our bodies have a wisdom of its own for health. And if you give it what it needs, it's going to build healthy structures. So we need to be asking ourselves, what does our body need? What does our brain need? And it's so easy these days because there's Google, right? If you don't know anything, all you have to do is go Google it. So information about nutrition is readily available. the importance of exercise. It's readily available. Exercise is as effective for mild and moderate depression as medication is. Why? Because what law of Hume may not understand and what many people don't understand is the stress that we experience that changes our brain chemicals, and brain chemicals interact with the structure, and then that causes changes in the structure, which causes changes in the function. Stress causes a decrease in certain brain chemicals, which then means you get brain cells that are injured or dead or die. You also get a decrease in production and availability of certain brain chemicals like dopamine or epinephrine and serotonin. Those chemicals are involved with depression, anxiety, and then also um, focus, attention, the pleasure center, and motivation. So that's why we don't understand the importance of stress, but stress has a chemical component in our bodies that then interacts with the brain structure, and it decreases certain brain chemicals that we need, decreases certain blood flow that we need. So then the brain structure itself either is injured, stops working properly, or dies. That's why stress matters. It's not just something that you kind of talk about that kind of doesn't have any significance. And the same thing is and so what happens is the part of the brain up front, while those cells, so those are dying, you get the part of the brain back here that generates negative thoughts that takes over. That's what you see happening in depression and anxiety. So it's important to get sleep. It's important to get the proper nutrition. It's important to get necessary exercise, to breathe quality air. It's those kind of things develop a healthy mind and a healthy body. Now, to go back again to what you were saying is, again, we need to recognize I have choice. I was one of those kids. I like people, and I talked to the kids around me. It didn't matter if we were in the same classes, if we were on the same team or whatever. I was just nice to people and I talked to people. But I also recognized, I was just like, you know what? It doesn't sit well with my spirit for me to be ingesting substances. So other people were smoking weed on the bus, going to high school, and whatever else they were doing, I was like, I'm not doing that. So I'm one of those people that has never used an illegal substance, never. And even in my 20s, when I was, and that because that's a choice. So we have to recognize that I have a choice. That's how I exercise my power, is my ability to choose. When I was in my 20s, somebody offered me some cocaine. I said, no, thank you. So the issue isn't that they offered to me. The issue is, do I accept or reject their offer? That again is consciousness and awareness. I have to be aware and paying attention. I can choose to do this and I can choose not to do it. And by choosing to do it, what's going to be the consequences of this? What's going to be the result of this? Is this going to give me the life I want or the life I don't want? And using substances, the way I say it is like this. It's like when you have a debt. You use it for the wrong thing. So it's a temporary solution. And there is no permanent solution in a temporary fix. That's what I like to say. So now I've used something that has temporarily numbed me out. But over time, what has happened is I still got the same problem. So it's like now I got a debt, but on top of the debt, now I got interest and penalties because now I've got the results or consequences of using a substance, whether it's impairment to my health, problems with my family relationships, losing my job, not taking care of my kids. And what we don't understand is that addiction is a brain illness. Going back to the things that I talked about earlier, which is human beings are wired for survival. And there's 4 basic things that are tied into our survival. That's eating food, drinking, in terms of drinking water. There's also sex for reproduction, and there's also social relationships or social connection. All of those things are meant to ensure the survival of human beings, not necessarily a given individual, but certainly human beings as a whole. And so what happens is those 4 activities are tied into survival. But unbeknownst to us, and those activities, how they ensure survival is because there's pleasure associated with them. That pleasure happens because the activity of doing those 4 things releases a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is involved in the pleasure center. It's also involved in motivation. Well, why this, but then how is that related to drug use? Well, the drugs that many people use, heroin or opiates, like Adderall, Ritalin, stimulants, alcohol, marijuana, they release dopamine, and they release dopamine in larger amounts than the normal amount of dopamine that would be released. So what's happening is you're getting pleasure from the use of those substances. Well, what happens is over time, the use of those substances, it hijacks the survival mechanisms associated with eating, drinking water, sex, reproduction, and social connections. It hijacks those survival mechanisms, and the use of drugs becomes associated with survival by the individual, by the person. So now, drug use, which never was meant to be associated with survival, is now been twisted and contorted and taken over the brain. So now you can, I got to use drugs. I got to use drugs in order to survive. I'm not taking care of my kids. I'm not going to work. I'm not doing these kind of things. Now, do you have some people who functionally have functional addictions? Yes. But there are a lot of people that can't, because addiction in and of itself is about consuming and using the drug, and in larger amounts than you used to. And also there's a craving. So even when people get detoxed, the reason they quote unquote fall off the wagon is because their body is craving the drug, and they also get triggered to use the drug because, like all things, activities, certain things get associated, certain triggers get associated with that activity. What I mean by that, some people, when they drink alcohol, they smoke a cigarette. So if they're around somebody who's smoking a cigarette, they're gonna get triggered. Or if they hear certain sounds, certain sights, certain smells, they're gonna get triggered to use, even though they've been detoxed. So does somebody have to understand things on the level that I understand things? Absolutely not. But there are some basic things that we need to understand about how our bodies function and how our brains function, and that it's the control tower. And so the more impaired my brain is, the more impaired my life is. We really need to get that understanding about this, and then understand when I expose it to drugs, I'm altering its structure and its function. I'm changing that by choosing to do that. And in the same way, I change my structure and function of my brain by the thoughts I think. I need to recognize, every time I make a choice, I create a result. That's power. Not power over you, not power over anybody else or anything else, but over me and what kind of life I'm building. So I need to be aware. I need to recognize my own power comes in my ability to choose, and that every time I make a choice, I create a result. That result is an experience I either want or that I don't want. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. I love it. I
And
want to make
then,
sure
and
I
then
put a link to those podcasts.
let
Go
me just tie this on one last part, because I want people to understand. I want people to make sure that they get this. Then you need to understand that all of this other stuff outside of you is other people trying to get their needs met by using you. And I don't mean that necessarily in a negative way, because people are not always malicious in their intent, but they're either trying to get your money, get your time, get your attention, get your energy, get your resources and your energy in order to meet their needs. So if you're not still and looking inward within yourself and doing the things that I talked about and saying, who am I and why am I here? What am I doing to create the life I have? And if I don't like my results, what do I need to do differently in order to create the results I do want? If I don't know something, let me go learn how to do it, because I can learn how to do it if I put in the time and the work. But everything outside of me is a potential distraction, and they may not be going the same direction I'm going. So if that's the case, why am I allowing myself to go to a destination that I don't want to be in?
I
need
hear
to-
you. I want to come back to this idea.
Okay.
The way you described the transactional nature of energy, it's very much an American European version of it. And my question for the community is, how do we get back to a place where there's mutually benefiting interactions, where we are not just, as you say, using each other intentionally or not intentionally, but like I believe there's a ways that we can like combine, interact, and add value, and not sort of deplete. And I wonder what it would take for us to get to that as a place.
So
Can
you clarify something for me? Can you clarify something when you said in terms of how I described energy is a European Western way of
no, the
doing
using part. So there's
okay.
when you describe the transactional part where everybody's using you to deplete the resources. Like I understand how that is how things are, but I'm wondering how can we elevate to how things can be? Or maybe there was a time or places or communities that have figured out other configurations where that's not necessarily the base system.
But we, you know what? But we have to start by recognizing there's many of my needs that I can meet for myself. Meaning, I don't need if my parents don't know how to love themselves, they can't teach me how to love myself. I can't teach you what I don't know. I'm not I'm not and you know I don't build you know, I'm not an aeronautical engineer, so I can't teach you how to build rockets. Okay. So if people don't know how to love themselves, they can't teach you how to love yourself. But that doesn't mean you can't learn. So I need to stop again and say, what is it I don't know how to do, but I would like to do or would like to feel or experience, and let me how to feel how to do it myself. Now that being said, again, if I'm going from here to San Francisco, you know, let me check to see if some of my friends want to go. Bar, you want to go? Bar says, no, I don't want to go. Okay. Somebody else want to go? I can go with you, but I'm only going to Omaha. So we need to figure out what people are doing, and either that's okay with us or not, but not be deterred for what's true for me, and work with each other again, not from a place of saying, and here's what's usury. Obari, if I don't recognize and honor the truth of your being and your purpose, then that's usury. If I honor the truth of your being and your purpose, that you going part of the way that I'm going, and I'm okay with that, and we work together to get there, that's us working together. But it's neither one of us using each other, it's us helping each other.
I hear it. Dr. Mateen, I see your hand up. I wanted to spend a little bit of time on the suicide part of this. I hear the substance part, but we're at a place where things have gotten so bad that I just want to deal with that for a moment. I think we have enough time. I got a quick video. I want to play one more video. It's about suicide. It's the artist Jordan Lucas that talked about finding his friend who had died by suicide, and then the processes he went through of like understanding what that meant for him. It's a really, really like intense video. So like if you have had personal experiences and you're not really ready for this, please step out or pause. But I don't see a lot of talked about suicide. So when I found this, I feel like this was the only place I could really share this with the group and process it and get people's thoughts and just offer it as a way to facilitate conversations in your work around suicide specifically. And then we can open the floor. So Dr. Mateen, you can have the first comment, but I want to just make sure we address part to the suicide part of the conversation and see if there's some solutions, some brainstorming, some ideas that we have around that. And I'll bring Jordan Lucas in to usher into this last segment of the conversation.
Go ahead and call me a coward, say that I'm not strong because I'm not like you. Go ahead and call me crazy because I live in a maze. Tell me, how about you? I think I live in my head. Sometimes I think that I'm dead. I hide behind my youth. No, I've been losing my mind and I'm a little behind. Step aside my shoes. Cause I never been happy with myself. And I don't need no one feeling bad for me. Trying to offer me pity and throw jabs at me. Wanna give me advice and then laugh at me behind the doors. Just close the door and let me be by myself. Just me and myself. I'm tired of living, I cry. I hear it's easy to die. I want to see for myself. And I know that sounds crazy to everyone else, but I'm depressed as fuck, stressed as fuck. Ain't no medicine that can cure what's intense as drugs I need extra love, and that ain't even enough. So that ain't even enough. And where the fuck is God? Yeah. Maybe I ain't believe, but today if he's real. And if he is, then I guess I'm probably going to hell. Look, die like this. I ain't picture my life like this. They don't know what it's like this. Pretending I'm happy so I can smile like this and laugh like you. Sometimes I wonder if I ever act like you. Could I finally fit in and maybe relax like, ooh? Or would you feel lost without me? Cause honestly, I think the world is better off without me. And my mind finished. This is the line finished. Truth is I don't care how they feel about my feelings. I made up my mind. I'm going out like Robin Williams. I guess I'm not the ordinary people of John Legend. And today I was 9. Okay, today I was 9. I've been tired of being bullied, couldn't stay out the fire. Grandma told me I should take it one day at a time, and damn it, look at me now. Fuck. The pen running out. Shit. Damn. Look, just know it's a new day, but if you're reading this, then it's probably too late. Just make sure you tell my family it's okay. I'm sorry, but it's too late. I'm sorry, so much waiting on me. I don't wanna live to see another day. I'm sorry, but I can't stay. I'm sorry, so much waiting on me. Just make sure you tell my family it's okay. I'm sorry, but it's too late. I'm sorry, so much waiting on me. I don't wanna live to see another day. I'm sorry, but I can't stay. I'm sorry, so much waiting on me. What you wanted, I hope you finally happy. It's too late for you. Been going out of my mind. You don't know how many times that I done prayed for you. I hope you hear me, goddammit, cause I got so much shit that I wanna say to you. I used to shine, now I'm all in the dark. I remember I used to tell you to follow your heart, but goddammit, look at you now. It's all of your fault. How could you? Maybe it's my fault. I should have paid more attention to what you been doing. Maybe I should have been more of an influence. I can't believe that you did. I read your letter and all I could do is have mixed feelings about it. But I'll forever be attached to you. Damn. Part of me feels bad for you. A part of me feel like you weak and I'm mad at you. And I don't mean to be insensitive, but I don't understand how we couldn't prevent this shit. You took out. God damn it, you did. I mean, look what you did. I'm so fucking upset. How could you be so selfish? Nigga, how could you be so selfish? Now you're gone, you done left me so helpless. I wonder what God thinks. I hope you in God's place behaving yourself. And what the fuck you gotta say for yourself? Look, I really feel lost without you. I hate the fact you think the world is better off without you. On my mind spinning, this is the line finish. Truth is I don't care how you feel about my feelings. And I be lying, told you I'm fine, listen. I know that you can hear me, all I need is like 5 minutes. I just want to reach inside the casket and pull you out. I'm sorry, this is something that we both couldn't figure out. I wish I could hear you now. Is your soul missing? I wonder if you could do it again, would you do it different? Tell me what death is like. Was it meant for you, Brody? Did the heavens support it? Are you fucking happy now? Did you get what you wanted? Isn't this what you wanted? I feel the temperature falling and you've been suicidal back then, you were not. Yeah, even not. But no. Grandma told us we should take it one day at a time, and damn it, look at you now. But it's a new day, and if you can't hear me, then it's probably too late. Fuck! Just make sure you tell my family it's okay. I'm sorry, but it's too late. I'm sorry, so much waiting on me. I don't wanna live this. Okay, sorry, but I can't stay. I'm sorry, so much waiting.
So I just wanted to begin to have this conversation. We're going to bring us back on next Thursday. Chicago Black psychologist having a suicide prevention town hall. Dr. Safir is on the call, and Michelle Tompkins is on the call. Some other folks that's going to be here to help us, figure some of this stuff out. But I just wanted to begin that conversation today because it's on the topic for today. And just open the floor. Like, the floor is open for anybody. I know Dr. Mateen had her hand up, and we got the guest, Dr. Durr, and Elijah and Law, a few of y'all had any final words. We only got a couple minutes, but just wanted to process some of this and send us off with some direction to the extent that we have it. Dr. Mateen, did you want to speak first?
Yes, I would like to. I would like to break it down into the question that was asked by the young people, and you asked for the young people. Like, where do we start? They were asking, how do they get up and out? And I can say that I've been there when I was younger, times in my life with the suicidal ideation. And most of it was because the anxiety that comes from memories and dealing with trauma coming up, it comes up as anxiety. There's a tendency to numb it, but on the road to healing, you know, going to therapy, as was mentioned before, actually brings up more and more memories to be healed. And so, do we run away from it? The worst time is when we're by ourselves. At nighttime, the nightmares, who's going to go to sleep? But we need to sleep in order to not be depressed and to be able to think straight and to have the energy to make choices. But if you have nightmares coming up at night, you know, people go to therapy, and then the rest of the week, they have to deal with all those memories and stuff themselves. Then we have trauma that goes way back from our ancestors, slavery, that makes us afraid, terrified to heal, terrified to tell the truth. That terror is what I see in clients that makes it hard for them to even start to get better. It stops them. It's almost like, okay, we're going to be persecuted if we do better. We'll be persecuted by friends, family, community, jobs, everything. All of that terror is there for real. So I did it without drugs, but it was hard. The decision and the commitment to sit with that anxiety, eventually the joy is there under that. But to do it or try to do it alone, which I did, which is one of the reasons why I became a therapist, because nobody ever talked about it, what it was like to heal, what it was to have that terror. We do need that community support to be able to say what it is that actually going through. And I like a lot of men and boys never tell their sisters, their mothers, any of what they've been through. What do you do once that anger comes up? I had that period in my life for a couple of years, nonstop anger. What do you do with it once it starts coming up? The guilt, the shame, all of that. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I like to make it real, break it down and make it real for what's really happening with people.
Thank you, Dr. Mateen. I appreciate you sharing that. Anybody else have any questions or comments or feedback or ideas or resources? Last 5 minutes. Dr. Dare, you on mute. You muted, Doc.
Okay, I put 2 resources in. One is for my podcast. It's a 3-part series called Today's Mental Health Trilogy. It is on addiction, depression, and suicide. Each segment is close to about an hour each, and there's a lot of wonderful information. I also included the National Suicide Prevention Hotline which is 1-800-273-TALK or 1-800-273-8255. So I accidentally put 1-300 part of that, so that's what the correction is. It's 1-800-273-TALK, or TALK's numerically is 8255. So they have those options. That's 24/7. They have some lines that you can actually text. They have some lines for veterans. There is SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, and you can find that online. I'll have to pull that up and try to get that information to you, but it's probably SAMHSA.org. But those are some resources. But as I said earlier, there has to be a willingness, and the willingness is that the people around me may not know how to do this, may not understand, may not approve. And I have to be willing to get what I need for my own healing. Many people suffer from suicide because they feel overwhelmed, they feel powerless. Other risk factors are that they've attempted suicide before, or they've had family members who attempted suicide, or they've seen somebody, attempt suicide, or they suffered some major loss or transition that they don't know how to deal with. So effectively, again, is that they feel overwhelmed and powerless to deal with whatever the challenge is. I guess Dr. Mateen mentioned again about the trauma. Domestic violence is another risk factor, because of course now we're injured and don't know how to deal with that pain. And again, I think part of it is again, and Law Huey mentioned this about perspective. Many of us don't understand that my perspective is hugely important. The sense of threat, and they've shown this in research, that the more you're feel threatened, it actually triggers your fear and threat circuits, and that those fear and threat circuits in and of themselves can increase the probability of somebody attempting suicide. Why? Again, because the person feels threatened and they feel inadequate to deal with the threat. So there has to be a redefining of ourselves, and to my identity about who I am, is that I'm a human being or a spiritual being, but not a human doing or a spiritual doing. I'm not what I did, and I'm not what somebody did to me. I'm not what I have, or I'm not what I don't have. So who I am is this wonderful, perfect being, despite what my experiences are, and powerful and capable of dealing with that comes before me. But so many people see themselves, their identity is twisted up with their who and their do is confused. The identity is confused.
Can you respond to a question real quick? I'm sorry.
Sure.
There's a question in the chat. I think it's for you. And I actually want to hear this too. If you have a brief answer to the question, your thoughts on CBD and THC now being offered as an alternative prescription medication, and weaning off of other chemical drugs. And in general, do you have a position on marijuana? It's been legal. I think that we kind of just accepted most of the kids are smoking.
So yeah, you and I kind of talked about this. So one, CBD is the component. While it helps pain and other things, it doesn't get you high. It's the THC part of cannabis or marijuana that gets you high. So CBD has been shown to be very effective and to be very helpful with pain and other aspects of things. So absolutely, I'm absolutely, unless you can't tell, absolutely for a holistic approach, meaning I'm a whole being, we're a whole being, so we need to treat all aspects of that in whatever way is going to promote health. So the problem also that people don't understand is what's gradually happening with marijuana is the same thing that's happening with cigarettes. They deny and pretend like it's not harmful when it is. And while it's illegal, marijuana is illegal for underage people, just the way kids would get access to cigarettes and alcohol. So it is an issue and it's a problem. As a young person, our brains they're developing rapidly, and anything that's undergoing rapid change or development is more vulnerable to insults, meaning it's more invulnerable to drugs and chemicals or anything else you expose it to alter its normal development. So the problem with smoking marijuana when you're an adolescent is that it decreases the blood flow to certain structures in your brain and causes those structures to be smaller. One of the structures it decreases is memory. One of the other structures it decreases is your prefrontal cortex. Your prefrontal cortex is the thing that makes you a higher thinking being. It's the thing that helps you organize and helps with judgment and impulse control and organization. So it decreases that prefrontal cortex by smoking marijuana, but they don't tell you that part. Why? Because again, you just out there not doing your research and saying, well, they so-and-so's doing it, so I'm going to do it. Not recognizing that everything has a plus and a minus, a benefit and a risk. And the risk to smoking marijuana when you're a young person is you're going to damage your brain. You also, because marijuana can increase certain people, if you have a vulnerability to develop psychosis, hearing voices, seeing things, paranoia, that kind of thing, marijuana can potentially, for some people, push them over the edge, causing them to have psychotic symptoms.
Wow, that's so important.
Is that simple enough for you in terms of marijuana?
Yeah, we over time. Every time I wish we did 2 hours of this thing. We always run out of time with this. But we're gonna have to cut here. Thank you so much for just offering such a wealth of resources, Dr. Dare. Please let people know how they can find you, how they can get in touch with you, and we're gonna keep on doing this. And we're here every month. We'll see y'all next June, June 16th. And if y'all can come to the town hall next Thursday, we're here for that. And we're gonna wrap today. I appreciate this. This has been a very rich and somber, but hopeful conversation. So thank you all for being here.
So can I leave just people with one thing?
Oh yes.
Can I leave folks with one thing before they go? This, even if you go see somebody like Dr. Obari or myself, we're like a coach, and we're gonna tell you what play to run. And you, as the athlete, you're gonna go out there and run the play that we told you to run, or you're gonna run a different play. And depending upon it, your results may be different. I'm saying that to say, one of the things I encourage people to do is just to say kind things to yourself, that I'm a good person, that I have wonderful abilities and talents. Be kind and loving to yourself. And yes, you mess things up, but you messed it up, let it go, and just do what you can, your best from today going forward. And so many people refuse to do that simple, basic thing. It doesn't require money. It doesn't require anybody else. It doesn't require a therapist, but it does require that you are willing to love yourself and be kind to yourself and to treat yourself well. And you have to be willing to shift your perspective and to think of yourself well and to treat yourself well. And if you're not willing to do that, your life is never going to get better. People are out there to help you. Resources are out there. If you look for them, you will find them. But I can tell you you're a wonderful person. If you say, no, I'm not, then guess what? You'll never get better, because you said that you are not a good person and you're not valuable and you're not wonderful. So it doesn't matter what I say. It matters what you say about you. So I just want to encourage people to do that, to love and value, be kind to yourself. Let that be your practice every day throughout the day.
I love it. It's good work. Nakai, you wrapping this up?
I have no further words. This is amazing. Thank you so much for leading this conversation. And thank you all for joining us. Look forward to next time.
Can I say one thing?
Y'all have a good night. I'll see y'all next time.
Can I say one thing real quick?
Oh, who's that?
Elijah.
Yeah, you still here? I thought. Yeah.
And I'm still here. What I wanted to say is, when you see people going through things, I want everybody to step into that place to let them know that everything is gonna be okay. Because I feel like everybody right now, like younger children and stuff like that are doing drugs and going through depression, they just want somebody to help them out. So if you can, or if any way possible, just step into that place and just ask them if everything is going okay, because that'll help everybody out at the long run.
I love it. Appreciate that, bro. All right, y'all have a good night. Thank y'all again.
Thank you, Avar. Really appreciate it. Appreciate everyone for being here.